the judiciary to function. You remember the Chief Justice is complaining about the manner in which the money is being released from the Treasury to the judiciary. Now we are entrenching it in the Constitution to ensure that it is a particular figure, just like CDF is a particular figure in the law, just like all money going to counties no less than 15%. We are making it protected in law and automatically presented to the judiciary to manage their own resources without the situation where the Chief Justice has to beg for resources from the executive. And we are very concerned, very, very concerned that now it's becoming the stick and the carrot, that you have to do this for the judiciary to get this.
Interesting remarks right there from the 173 Jubilee members of Parliament who are gathered today in Naivasha, just touching on the Judiciary Fund with the complaints that have been aired time and time again about how money is released by the Treasury to the Judiciary, and that particular percentage. Now, gentlemen, I'll start with you, Duncan Okach, because I just cut you short. 173 members proposing 3.5% to be set in the Judiciary Fund, and this should be protected by the law. So the judiciary actually has authority over how it uses that particular money. Now, could this be a solution to the tampering of money by the Treasury, once it has been approved by Parliament? Because remember, in November 4th, 2019, Chief Justice David Maraga vehemently put the Treasury on spot. What do you think of this?
I think that is the panacea to this particular recurrent problem, because once it is put in law, especially our Supreme Law, the Constitution, that a certain percentage must be given to the judiciary, I can tell you it will only add to the independence of the judiciary as clearly envisaged by the founders of this and framers of this particular constitution. Because the moment you actually say that you must make decisions in a certain way for us to give you money, there is no independence whatsoever. And I heard what my colleague Gladys Bosch-Sholei said before, and I actually disagree with that 100%, that your judiciary must always go to Parliament, justify the amounts that they want. And Parliament is another arm of government. We have 3 arms of government. So you cannot say that one arm must come begging, yet Parliament itself has matters in court, live matters in court. That is another way of interfering with the independence of the judiciary. The moment they are given their money, and the other aspects are already protected in the Constitution in terms of how a judge loses office, then we have a total independence, and it will only benefit all of us as Kenyans.
All right, let's cross over to Brian Haimba. Anna Madi, the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, broke something down for us, saying 20% of the budget comes from the government, while 80% comes from development programs. Now, something worrying came up that the World Bank is partly responsible for that 80% of the budget, and they are almost pulling out from financing the judiciary. What does this spell for the dispensation of justice? Because it's noteworthy under Article 48 that every Kenyan, that the state is required to ensure justice for every Kenyan. What does it speak?
First of all, it is, as you have highlighted, it's a responsibility of the state to ensure that there's justice which is accessible, that is accountable, that is affordable to every Kenyan. It's not a responsibility of the donors. The donors will come in to give us a shot in the arm. So basically, the Constitution provides that there should be a financial autonomy, and to back on that, there's provision in the article that there should be an established judiciary fund. And I'm happy that the proposals are coming from Naivasha. I hope it's not just politics of the day, because a lot is happening in the political scene. But 3.5% to me is a step in the right direction, because worldwide, in the Commonwealth, the average rate ratio is about 2 to 5% of the national budget should be going to the judiciaries to help with the financial autonomy. As we speak now, this financial year, the judiciary was given about 18.9 billion, which is less than 1% of the national budget. And the CJ, as the way the right put it, that there cannot be even a fraction of the budget allocated to other ministries. So we need to do a lot in securing the independence of the judiciary, financial independence of the judiciary. The president is, I'm so sad that the president can come on the national television in an event during the launch of the state of the report of the judiciary and say, and lament that the judiciary is also to blame because of issuing injunctions from one day to another, and that there's only one individual who seems to be getting those orders. And I want to ask, I ask myself, if these Kenyans went to court and got injunctions, and we are here, as the president saying that it was wrong for the judiciary to give those orders, where was supposed to go? And they're supposed to go and ventilate their disputes in the courts of law? And what are you talking about access of justice when we are denying them an opportunity to go and litigate in the courts? Number two is that, and he mentioned, the president was very clear. He mentioned the case whereby there were orders given against the government on the leasing of police vehicles. And we find that the litigants, most of them were not even Kenyans. These are investors who have come here to put and ensure that the economy grows. So if you are chasing these people away, that you should not be going to court because the court will give you injunction, then away you are going to kill, the infrastructure, the environment for investment. The judiciary is supposed to discharge its duties, not because if it gives certain orders, then the repercussion will be that the judiciary funds, the judiciary budget will be slashed. That should not be the case. There should be complete independence. And let the judges discharge their duties, regardless of whether there will be any repercussions or not.
It's true that the president said that, but he also mentioned that the judiciary might be a weak link in the fight against corruption. You know, use the example of the Akasha brothers who were walking freely in Kenya, but when they were extradited to the United States, justice was dispensed quite timely, and they're quite serving sentences right now. What do you speak in terms of the weak link in the entire criminal justice system? Is it just the courts that are weak, or is it the whole shoddy business of actually getting proper investigations, doing proper investigations, and getting proper evidence to put these individuals behind bars?
That analogy by the president was misplaced, in my view. It was too simplistic, because you look at the scenario of this particular case of the Akashas. When they were extradited to the United States, and this particular individual, the accused person, actually chose to plead guilty to the offenses, and went through the process of plea bargaining. In this country, if you were taken to court and a plea is read against you, a charge is read against you, and you plead guilty, and you say yes, you don't even take 2 or 3 days in court before you are convicted. So the president maybe doesn't have the facts on the ground. The Akasha was sentenced, pleaded guilty, and the process that remained was to do the mitigation hearing that took a bit of time. In my view, they even took more time than what would have taken in this country. The war on corruption, I will not say that the judiciary is the weak link, if we really have the facts and how the criminal justice system works. And as the former chief registrar has spoken, all the sectors share a blame. If the DPP has to round up all the accused persons and bring them in Nairobi, and the anti-corruption court in Nairobi, with about 5 or 6 magistrates, how do we expect the justice will to move fast? Why will a governor be arrested from Busia and be brought all the way to Nairobi to take plea and face prosecution in Milimani law court? How many courts have we passed from Busia law court? Why will we arrest someone from Migori and bring that person to Nairobi? What is so special? How many courts have we passed? Why will we arrest someone from Zamburu to come and bring that person to face trial in Nairobi? I mean, we must ask ourselves that if we are opening up the frontiers of justice, we are taking justice closer to the people in line with the provisions of the Constitution, then let the people face charges near the places where the crimes have been committed, so that we don't put much pressure on the courts in Nairobi. So you find that the magistrates in the anti-corruption courts, they will take so much time, every day taking place, a plea that will go up to around 8 or 9 p.m. And that's why you cannot make instant rulings on bonds and other these minor applications. So we must lay the blame square I can't see the judiciary being a weak link. And if the judiciary being a weak link, then we need to point out that so and so is the weak link, where this judiciary has got judges and magistrates, and they're doing a fantastic job. So you'd rather just come and tell the Kenyans that this particular judge or this magistrate who is not doing his or her job. And this era of general apportionment of liabilities, I mean, we must run away from it. The CJ has given very clear reasons as to why the wheels of justice are not moving as fast as we expected. You cannot expect the Court of Appeal having shut all the stations and bring all the judges in Nairobi. You expect the wheels of justice to move fast? It cannot be. The president himself said that this country does not need many judges. At the same time, you are saying the judiciary is the weak link. So you don't have many judges, but you have got many accused persons being arrested every day. Then what are you talking about?
Okay. Duncan Okach, over to you. Even as you perhaps give your take on, these shoddy cases and the weak links in the entire criminal justice system, let's highlight the importance of digitization of the courts. I mean, in September 2019, Chief Justice Maraga had highlighted that it was starting, that the digitization was rolling out. Now it's a change of tune due to, the austerity measures, and it's general knowledge that perhaps how court documents can easily disappear, perhaps pushing the narrative of how the big fish walk while the small fish fry. Because just tell us, are we shooting ourselves on our own foot? Because we'll still criticize the judiciary on some of these issues while we're not, orchestrating the changes needed to ensure that digitization perhaps is done.
Jesse, it cannot be that you leave your house in the morning, you do not leave any money for food to be bought in the evening, and when you are coming back home, you pass by your neighbor's house at the window and you actually can smell that there's meat cooking in that house. Then when you go to your house, you start lamenting. That's actually the situation where we are in. If you want those good things, if you want just the wheels of justice to move at record speed, there's work that has to be put in. You must fund that. You must oil this particular wheel and this system so that you cannot be just there lamenting when you are the same person who is causing these particular problems. My colleague, Honorable Kaemba, has actually stated it very clearly that the Chief Justice has indicated now and again, in terms of all these reports that they give, they have performance indicators and there are issues that need to be addressed. Pertinent about it is financing and independence, but more importantly, you've brought out a very critical aspect, digitization. And digitization, we realize, is a very critical element from the times of Gladys Boshole, and she did a wonderful job in terms of that particular effort. But midway, you find that there are no funds to push it to the next level. I can tell you in Milimani, most of the files have been scanned. They're actually digitized. There's a whole department dealing with that. And you can actually just go down there. They have put a computer screen there. You just plug in your case number, and it will give you the latest. So we are actually implementing that. But let me tell you, for it to actually replicate, it will require funds. The same funds you are being told there is no money. And if there is no money, let me tell you, it will affect the wheels of justice. And justice, like I'm telling you, it's not only served upon Nairobians. They're not the only taxpayers. It should be across the board. So that these particular issues that the Chief Justice raises are very pertinent issues that we cannot be seen to trivialize it as the executive and say that as far as you are concerned, you are not going to fight with anyone, you're not coming to fight with anyone. No one was there to fight. It is a discussion amongst the stakeholders. And let me tell you, the day that the executive will realize that judiciary is an equal arm, the legislature is an equal arm, and they can all sit and discuss and talk with mutual respect, it will take this country further. But the moment you have that mentality that the judiciary is the weakest link, and you see that is the mentality that they have, truly they will try to belittle it. But the funny part I will tell you, most times you'll find the same characters one day in court. And they'll go to court because they want to actually have a matter dealt with by court. So it is important to, and I always say, to actually look at it as if you'll also be a partaker of this particular process tomorrow.
Okay, now Duncan Okach, let me cross over to Brian Hayemba quite briefly in less than a minute. The president said we must be creative on how we use the resources we have, that we need to save money. The judiciary is not the only affected arm of government in these austerity measures. Briefly, what do you say to this statement by the president?
You know, the president first he talked about the austerity measures affecting all government departments, which is true to some extent. The only mistake, or perhaps he didn't know, he mentioned that the operations, the austerity measures that were taken against the judiciary, in his view, do not adversely affect the day-to-day running of the judiciary. That was wrong, because the memo that most of us saw was actually affecting the reduction. The austerity measures against the judiciary were affecting the day-to-day running of the judiciary, because they were affecting the communication, they were affecting the subsistence allowance that facilitates judges to move from one station to another in panel so that they can have a bench of 3. They were affecting issues to do with the communication, internet, and the hospitality that is used to pay the sitting allowances for the tribunals that run the judiciary. So there's no way you can ask the judiciary to be, I've been the judiciary for more than a decade. I can tell you for sure that the issue the president talked about, that the judiciary should be cut down on having the judicial officers having 3 newspapers in a day.
All right.
Those
all right. Many thanks.
They are not there in the judiciary. I mean, it is rare for the judicial officer to be supplied with newspapers, especially the magistrates. The issue of using the first-class flights, I mean, air tickets. They don't work in the judiciary, because I know the judiciary most of the time, the judges and magistrates, they use actually the economy. The people who use and occupy the first class are a member of the executive.
All right, let's finish it right there. Brian Hayemba, definitely just highlighting some of the nitty-gritty issues that have been highlighted in this past week in regards to the judiciary. Is it a begging judiciary? That is what we were seeking to find out. As well, many thanks to Duncan Okach, who is an advocate, joining us in studio, just shedding light on this particular topic. And of course, let me extend thank you to Abus Shuley, who also gave her input in terms of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. My name is Jesse Rogers. That is the end of the big story tonight. Thank you for watching. Keep it KTN News.